So here is the finished onion pork balls. What's up, my YouTube people? Thanks for coming back to see just what I do today. Hope you're having a great day today. It's a really early morning. Thought I'd get this video started really early. Now, I've shown you a lot of outside videos, and I thought I'd do an inside video today. I thought I'd show you cooking something today. I haven't done that in a while, so I thought we'd change things up and do that. Now, this is another family style quick crock pot dinner. So I thought I'd show you, bring you along for that, for another family dinner recipe anyways. Because I've showed you a lot of stuff going on outside, filmed a lot outside lately. I thought I'd do something inside, change it up a little bit. I thought we'd cook something. Thought knock the tripod over. That would have been great. But anyways, this is, as I said before, this is a quick crock pot family style dinner. It's really stupidly simple. All it takes is the ingredients you see in front of you. Now we'll run down that list real quick. And then we'll get whacking out this dinner, because the first half has to take a couple hours for it to completely cook before we go adding anything else. So the main ingredient in this quick crock pot dinner is pork. Now those are, what are those? Those are pork in loin chops. Now you could use a pork roast, you can use, already cut up pork, you can use pork loin, pork roast, any pork, it doesn't matter. Phoenix. Yeah, any pork will work. You'll also need a can of, these are petite diced tomatoes. If you wanted to use the regular diced tomatoes, that's fine. I just thought I'd go with the petite diced. We're going to use a large can of red kidney beans, some crispy fried onions. Those will be the topper at the end when you're going to serve it. A big can of green beans, a big can of corn, 2 onions. Now if you don't like onions, then omit the onions. We're going to use most of this bag of carrots. This is a 2-pound bag. We're going to use most of it. And then I have a few potatoes left. As you can see, there's a few. We're going to dice those up and put those in. And we're also going to be using a bunch of onion soup mix. Onion soup / dip mix. We're going to be dumping a bunch of those in. There's 2 in this box, and then there's 3 in this box. It was a value size. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to dice up our onion real quick. So I'm going to dice that up, get that in the pot. Actually, the first thing we're going to do is turn the pot on high. Get that warming up. While that's warming up, I'm going to whack out this onion real quick. Just do a regular dice, not a petite dice. Just dice it up, no big deal. Then we're going to throw half of that, maybe 1 onion's worth, on the bottom. And then we're going to layer in our pork chops, and then some onion soup mix, the rest of the onions on the top, and we'll go from there. So while this is warming up, I'm going to whack out this onion real quick, and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, as you can see, we've got that first onion all diced up and put at the bottom of our crock pot that's heating up. The next thing is to do is to layer in our pork chops. No specific way, just get the little buggers in there. Now there's 8 pork chops in this pack. Got the first 4 in, so I'm going to sprinkle in one of these onion soup mixes. Sprinkle the whole thing in over those 4. Now we're going to toss the other 8 in, or the other 4 in to make 8. 4 and 4 is 8. And now we're going to throw another pack of soup mix over the top of those 4. So they're all nicely coated in the oniony soup mix. And the other onion that I diced up, we're going to sprinkle over the top of that. So this is going to be a double onion stew, crock pot dinner, whatever the heck you want to call it. I just want to get all that in there. And now we're going to add about a cup of water. We don't want to add too much water because this is a crock pot, so it kind of produces its own liquid from being sealed and steam and whatnot. So the only thing left to do now is to put the lid on it. We'll lock it completely down so it's sealed. Now I'm going to let this go on high until I start smelling either the onion soup really good or the pork chop, until it starts smelling really good. Then I'll come back over and I'll turn it to low, and we will let that go for about 4 hours. It's almost 6 o'clock in the morning now, so roughly 10, 11-ish. Well, let's just put it this way. I'm going to let it go on low till noon. By that time, the pork should just fall apart. That's what we're looking for, is for the pork chops or pork roast or pork loin or whatever you happen to be using to just fall apart when you stir it. That's what we're aiming for. We just totally want it to fall apart on its own, because then that's one less step we got to do, which is pull those out and chop them up. Yes, you could have gotten the already chopped up pork, but it wasn't on sale. That's my phone. It wasn't on sale, so I got these pork loin chops because they were on sale. So get whatever is on sale. It'll work perfectly for this. So we are going to let this go until noon. It is exactly 6 o'clock now. So we're going to let this go for, I guess, 6 hours or so, or until the pork completely falls apart on its own. When it starts doing that, we'll add our potatoes and our carrots, let those go until they're somewhat soft, and then we'll throw the rest of the stuff in, let this go for a bit longer, and then we will have a quick, well, somewhat quick, it's an all-day thing, set it and forget it type of crock pot stew dinner. So, I'll bring you back in a couple hours. We'll check this out. Again, when it starts smelling really good, I'm going to come back over. I'm going to turn it down to low. But until then, we're going to leave it on high. And so I will see you back in a couple hours. Well, it's been several hours now that this has been cooking on low. So let's give these pork chops a check and make sure they're just going to fall apart, because that was the goal of setting it and forgetting it. So you could put this together, put the pork part together before you leave for work on low. When you get home, throw in the vegetables, and then by dinner time you'd have a really nice dinner. So let's check out this pork, because our goal was to have it cook long enough to where it would just fall apart on its own. So all we had to do was chop it up a little bit and then throw in our vegetables, as I said before. Because it's smelling really good. So let's just see. As you can see how much liquid, hold on. That's a little better. Had to turn on the light, forgot. As you can see how much liquid it had produced on its own, because if you remember, we only added about a cup of water. It produces a lot of liquid on its own, so you don't want to add much, because this is supposed to be a stew. But still, we're going to be adding in the juice from the tomatoes, the beans, the corn, we're going to add all that juice in there because that'll help flavor it. But for now, see, it just wants to fall apart. That's exactly what we were looking for. Remember, there was 8 pork chops in here. And you just want to give it a small chop. And then, of course, pull out any bones because we don't need those in there. Make sure those get to the trash because they're way too small for any of the dogs. There's a couple of bones. Thought that was a bone. It psyched me out. And then, of course, warn anybody, hey, there might be bones in it, so be careful when you go to serve it. Now, you don't want it like super chopped small. You just want enough to where everybody gets some nice pieces of pork chop. Or pork loin, or pork roast, or whatever kind of pork you happen to be using. Just break all that up. Now, if you wanted, you could straight put this on a roll and have pork sandwiches right now. That would be a quick and super simple pork sandwich. Just let it go for a while. I forgot what I was talking about. I got interrupted. But anyways, you could, I think I was talking about how you could put this on a bun and have it as a sandwich. This would be a really nice au jus pork sandwich. I think that's what I was talking about. I don't remember. I was interrupted. So we're just trying to get all the bones out right now. For the most part. There's a fair bit in those pork chops. Oh, psyched me out again. Thought that was a bone. I think that's about it. And of course, as I said before, just give everybody a warning. Hey, there might be bones in there. Be careful. A straggler bone or two. You know, little pieces like so. So I think that's pretty darn good. Till you come across another bone. A little toasty on the fingers. Okay, I think we're good now. All the big giant chunks are chopped a little bit. Don't want super small, but you know, enough to where everybody gets some decent amount of pork. So, we're going to move on to the next part. Now, the potatoes and the carrots are going to take the longest. So I chopped up about 8 potatoes and about 10 carrots or so. Now, they're all semi-uniformly diced. We're just going to dump those in, give them a stir. Just sort of stir those in. Anything we need to add more water? No, because it's a crock pot. It sort of self-adds its own water. Oops, one carrot. Now we're going to throw this, we're going to turn this back up to high, put the lid back on, and let this go until the potatoes and the carrots are soft. And after that, we will put our tomatoes and our other stuff in and test it for seasoning and all that fun stuff. But for now, we're going to let this go, put the lid back on. Snap the lid back on, let this go for a bit until those potatoes are nice and tender. When those are nice and tender, then that's when I will bring you back. Well, it's been about an hour or two since we put in the carrots and potatoes. They should be nice and squishy by now. So all we got to do is add in our other vegetables, and this dish should be done. I fogged you over. Okay, now we got it to fog off the lens. As you can see, the potatoes are nice and squishy, which is exactly what we wanted. Pull out any excess bones as you're stirring it. It's inevitable. So the only thing left to do is add another packet of soup mix, of your onion soup mix. And now we're just going to dump in the rest of our vegetables. Juice and all. Hopefully there's enough room in this crock pot for everything. There's the corn. There's the green beans. So that's why we didn't add any more water to it, is the juice from everything else will give it just enough to make it either stewy or soupish, which I was going for more stew. That's why we didn't add so much water at the beginning too, because the crock pot sort of produces its own. Add in our petite diced tomatoes. And the last one, our kidney beans. Hopefully we don't go over. Whew. It's a full one, that's for sure. Yeah, I could have dumped the juice off of the beans and whatnot, but I like the flavor the bean juice gives everything. And we're not going to add any seasoned salt to this because there's enough salt in the beans and there's enough salt in the soup mix. So we're just going to gently stir this. However, we are going to be adding some pepper, if I have any left. That kills my thing of pepper. Some garlic powder. And I know there's a lot of onion in here already, but we're going to add in some onion powder. That's about it for the seasonings. So we're just going to stir this really well. Let this come all warm up to temp. Make sure everything's all hot. And just made a mess. It's inevitable. Gonna give this a good stir. When this is all warm, we'll give it a try. So I'll bring you back in just a couple minutes. Well, here is the finished stew. I think I'm going to call it onion pork stew / soup, whichever way you want to call it. If you wanted to make it more soupy, you'd add just a bit more like water to it. Or even beef broth would be fine. But anyways, this is the finished onion pork stew. I'm calling it that because we put 2 onions in it and it has about 3 packs of onion soup mix in it. So it's oniony pork stew. Again, if you don't like the onions, just omit the onions. It's no big deal. You can use beef stock instead, or pork stock, whichever one you happen to come across. Those will work just fine. And again, if you don't like any of the vegetables, omit that part of the vegetables. Put in a vegetable you like. You could probably even try this with some summer squash. Yeah, I think summer squash would be good in this. You know, some zucchini, some yellow crookneck squash, or even some patty pan squash, or even a little bit of pumpkin or broccoli. Anything would really be good in this. You could even add mushrooms if you wanted to, but I think I'll save my mushrooms for Saturday for a different dinner. But anyways, this is the finished stew. It's very colorful. Now the only thing left to do is to add the crunchy onions over the top. That's another reason why I'm calling this oniony pork stew. You take crunchy onions and you sprinkle them over the top. Now we'll have this with a nice big bird salad and a good chunk of bread to soak up the tasty juice that has been concocting all day. Because remember, we started this at 5 o'clock in the morning. So this has literally been cooking all day. We threw the pork in this morning with about a cup of water. Now you can use any kind of pork, as I said before. We used pork chops. You can use pork roast, pork loin, pork whatever. Already cut up pork. Anyone will do. We threw in 2 packets of onion soup mix. And we let this go pretty much all day until the pork fell apart on its own. So yeah, it's been a sort of a set it and forget it type dinner. Because once that was done, everything went quick. The only thing left to do was wait for the potatoes and the carrots to get soft, and then after that it was just dump in the other vegetables. So it was a really simple dinner tonight. Oniony pork stew is what I'm calling it, as I said before. So the only thing left to do is to give it a try. Careful, it's still hot. What do you think? I think it's pretty good. I hope my family will enjoy it. It's got just enough onioniness. Try again. It isn't like overpowering onion, so it's like nothing, you taste nothing else but onion. It's a very subtle onion flavor to it. So, I hope you'll give this recipe a try. It's super simple. If you're trying to figure out something to do on a busy day, this is a set it and forget it. Really simple. Dump a bunch of stuff in, whatever vegetables you like. If you like more beans, add more beans. Less beans, no green beans, whatever. Super simple. You just throw it all in the crock pot and walk away. Well, the meat part first, and later you just dump everything else in. But anyways, that's going to wrap up this video for today. I hope you enjoyed this recipe on quick oniony pork stew. I hope you'll give it a try. Don't forget to whack the like button. Subscribe as always, that everybody asks you to do and hopes you will do. And I'll catch you next time on Just What I Do. Thanks for watching. Later, taters.